As thunder rumbled in the distance, Tayo sat alone, writing a message to his younger brother, Kunle. Kunle, life has become unbearable. Everything I thought was mine, my family, my pride, has been a lie. I can't continue like this. I'm sorry to leave you with this burden, but I can't carry it anymore. Take care of Kemi for me. She is my light, my only truth in this dark world. Forgive me. Tayo. Chief Tayo was the kind of man people envied and admired. Known for his vast wealth and booming businesses, his name was synonymous with success in the bustling city of Abuja. He was the quintessential patriarch, loved and respected by his family and society. But beneath the polished exterior of his glamorous life was a story of pain, betrayal, and devastating loss that no one could have imagined. Chief Tayo was not born into wealth. His early life was a testament to grit, determination, and sacrifice. Born in a small village in Osun State, he was the third of 7 children. His father was a farmer who barely made enough to feed the family, and his mother supplemented their meager income by selling akara by the roadside. From a young age, Tayo was determined to rewrite his family's story. He would sit under the dim light of a kerosene lamp, poring over books while his siblings slept. "I will be great one day," he often whispered to himself. After securing a scholarship to study business administration at the University of Lagos, Tayo worked tirelessly. He juggled classes during the day and a security job at night, barely sleeping but always dreaming. His hard work paid off, and after graduation, he moved to Abuja to start a small logistics company. The early years were brutal. Tayo often slept in his office, surviving on bread and sachets of water. But he was relentless. His break came when a multinational company signed a long-term contract with his firm. From that moment, his rise was meteoric. Tayo met Yemi at a friend's wedding. She was stunning, with eyes that sparkled like the morning sun and a laugh that could melt the hardest heart. For Tayo, it was love at first sight. "Excuse me," he had said nervously, approaching her at the reception. "I couldn't help but notice how beautiful you are. May I have this dance?" Yemi smiled, and from that moment, they were inseparable. Their courtship was filled with tender moments, late-night phone calls, strolls in Millennium Park, and shared dreams of the future. "I want to give you the world," Tayo promised her one evening as they sat under the stars. "You and our future children will never lack anything." "You already give me your love, Tayo," Yemi replied, resting her head on his shoulder. "That's all I'll ever need." They married in a grand ceremony and quickly became the golden couple of Abuja's elite circles. Their home was filled with love and laughter, especially as their family grew. Tayo adored his children, often returning from work with gifts for them. "Daddy, Daddy," they would scream, running to greet him. Kemi, his only daughter, was always the first to jump into his arms. "My princess," he would call her, planting a kiss on her forehead. But Tayo's success came at a cost. The demands of his business meant he was often away from home. He traveled across the country, securing deals and expanding his empire. The long hours and constant stress took a toll on him. But he bore it silently, driven by his promise to give his family the best. One night, as he prepared for yet another trip, Yemi confronted him. "Tayo, you're working too hard. The children miss you. I miss you." He sighed, pulling her into an embrace. "I know, Yemi, but this is for us, for them. I don't want our kids to ever know the kind of struggle I grew up with." Yemi nodded, though her eyes brimmed with unshed tears. "Just don't forget that we need you too, not just your money." "I could never forget. My love," he assured her. "You are my world." For years their home appeared perfect to outsiders. Yemi hosted lavish parties, and their children attended the best schools. On weekends, the family would gather for movie nights, with Tayo at the center, laughing and joking with his kids. But cracks began to form beneath the surface. Tayo's frequent absences created a void that Yemi struggled to fill. She found solace in the attention of another man, a choice she would come to regret deeply. Tayo, despite his love for Yemi, occasionally noticed her distant gaze and the way she seemed preoccupied. But he dismissed his concerns. trusting her completely. It all began during a routine checkup for their youngest son, Dele. The doctor suggested a genetic test due to some unusual markers in his blood. Tayo, ever the protective father, agreed without hesitation. When the results came, his world tilted on its axis. "Chief Tayo," the doctor began hesitantly during a private consultation, "I don't know how to say this, but the test results indicate that you are not Dele's biological father." Tayo blinked, the words bouncing off him like stones. "Not his father? What nonsense is this?" The doctor recommended further testing with the other children, and 2 weeks later, Tayo received the devastating confirmation. Of his 5 children, only his daughter, Kemi, was biologically his. That evening, Tayo confronted Yemi. His voice trembled with rage and heartbreak. "How could you do this to me, Yemi? I gave you everything, my love, my trust, my life. Who is he? Who is the man you led into our home?" Yemi collapsed into tears, unable to meet his eyes. "I was lonely, Tayo. You were never here. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake." "A mistake?" he roared. "Raising another man's children for years without my knowledge is a mistake? You've destroyed me, Yemi. You've destroyed everything we built." Tayo withdrew into himself, haunted by the betrayal. The sight of his sons, once a source of pride, now felt like a cruel reminder of his shattered trust. He began to avoid them, retreating into his study and drowning in his pain. Kemi was the only one who could reach him. "Daddy," she said one evening, her voice soft and full of concern. "Why don't you smile anymore?" He looked at her, his eyes filled with tears. "Oh, my princess," he whispered, holding her close. "You are my light in this darkness." Depression consumed Tayo. He stopped attending business meetings and avoided friends. The once vibrant man who had conquered the world now seemed a shadow of himself. One rainy evening, as thunder rumbled in the distance, Tayo sat alone, writing a message to his younger brother Kunle. "Kunle, life has become unbearable. Everything I thought was mine, my family, my pride, has been a lie. I can't continue like this. I'm sorry to leave you with this burden, but I can't carry it anymore. Take care of Kemi for me. She is my light, my only truth in this dark world. Forgive me. Tayo." The roads of Abuja were slick with rain as Tayo drove aimlessly, tears streaming down his face. Memories of his children's laughter and Yemi's radiant smile played in his mind, mingling with the agony of betrayal. As he approached the highway, his phone buzzed. Kunle was calling, but Tayo couldn't bring himself to answer. "I gave them everything," he whispered to himself. "Everything." The headlights of an oncoming truck appeared suddenly. For a brief moment, Tayo thought of Kemi, her smile, her innocence. But the pain was too much. He didn't swerve. The news of Chief Tayo's death shattered everyone. Kunle, heartbroken, read the suicide note repeatedly, his tears smudging the ink. At the mansion, Yemi collapsed in guilt and grief, knowing she had destroyed the man who had loved her unconditionally. Kemi, too young to understand the full weight of the tragedy, clung to Kunle, sobbing for the father who had called her his princess. The mansion, once filled with laughter, was now silent, its walls echoing with the ghost of a love that had been betrayed. Tayo's death left a void that could never be filled, a tragic reminder of the devastating cost of betrayal and the fragility of the human spirit. And as the rain continued to fall over Abuja, it seemed to mourn the life of a man who had loved too deeply and suffered too greatly.